Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fully Playable Games. So on today's video we are going to be doing something that I've been wanting to film since probably about March, when we've done the game room tour, and that was my first deep dive video. So today we are going to be doing a deep dive into my PS1 collection. So currently I've got 197 games in the PS1 collection, as well as 6 variations of the console itself. And yeah, in this video want to just look through that collection in a bit more detail, pull out some of the key games, the ones that I really enjoy playing, as well as some oddities as well. So let's dive straight in, and we'll first off have a look at the console variations that I've got. So diving straight in, we're going to have a look at the hardware that I've got. And as you can see here, I've got quite a few different versions of the PS1. Obviously, I've got a couple of different fat versions, I think you'd call them. Then you've got the PS1, the PS Mini. I've got a boxed version at the back there. I have also got a couple of versions that I haven't got here, but I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, one of the things that I like to collect with the PS1 is the different versions. So there were several different revisions to the PS1 platform over the years, and yeah, anytime I see them I do try and get them. I would actually like to have a full run of at least one of every series, but yeah, some of them are quite difficult. What I've done here is I have stacked up all of the ones that I've got in my games room at the moment, just to give you an idea of the different versions of the PlayStation 1. So you see right down the bottom there we've got the 1000 series, which was the first model that was released. There was different model numbers for the different regions. I can't remember what model number it is for PAL, but so the 1000 series was the first version that was released. There was then a 3000 series, which looks exactly the same, just had a slightly newer BIOS version. But that was only released in Japan. That wasn't released anywhere else. Then there was the 5000 series, which I do actually have one. It was just downstairs, so I didn't actually get it in the photo here. The 5000 and the 7000 series looks exactly the same. These are the ones that have got the little expansion bay just there on the left. And then you move on to the 9000 series, which is the one where they removed the expansion bay. And yeah, it's just literally the standard outputs. Then later on, they moved on to the PS1, which a lot of people tend to call the PlayStation Slim, because that's the way that Sony have moved on to sort of naming things. And then right up the top there, you'll see we've got the PS Mini, which was the one that was released a few years ago. As well as having this version, I do also have a brand new emboxed version as well. So I've never had that out, and yeah, I will admit I don't tend to play the PS Mini. I much prefer to play the games that I've got on. Well, I say actually most of the time I tend to play my PlayStation 1 games on my PS3. So yeah, you get slightly better picture, and yeah, they just tend to play a bit better. So before we wrap up the hardware, just wanted to have a quick look at the controllers. So you'll see there we've got the original one, the original controller with no thumbsticks. We've then got the dual analog, which is quite a rare controller. This was only released in Japan and the US. Then the standard DualShock controller, the PlayStation 1 variant of the DualShock controller, and then the standard controller that was released with the PlayStation Mini. So jumping into the games, see here I've actually got a selection of the PlayStation demo discs. These would have, a lot of these come with the PlayStation magazine, and yeah, they were really varied, and I absolutely loved this time when you would get these discs, because they weren't necessarily, not everything was playable. You would have some of them would be video. Say some of them would be playable, and some of them would just be basically a video demo, or you would have a trailer. So yeah, really love these. Obviously, it's something that I really miss with sort of modern gaming. Obviously, you can still get all the trailers and everything like that online, but actually having the physical discs in your hand was absolutely brilliant. And I know a lot of collectors actually do pick these up when they see them. I know I do. Whenever I see them out and about, I will grab them all day long. One of the things that the PlayStation 1 was absolutely great for was driving games. Now, this is a combination between real sim games, you've got arcade games, and then there's some other bits sprinkled in there as well. But here you'll see I've got a selection of what I would class as simulation driving games. And yeah, there's some absolute belters here because you've got your Gran Turismos, you've got your Toka, Colin McRae, all of that sort of stuff. But the one game that I'm going to highlight here is going to be the original Gran Turismo. And I remember when I was younger, I had a sleepover with two of my friends, and we decided that we were going to literally go right the way through and get the top spec car. I think it was like 1.5 million. So I think we started at something like 8 o'clock at night and literally went right through to about 7 o'clock in the morning. With the three of us taking turns on playing different races. And yeah, we did. By about 7 o'clock in the morning, we managed to unlock that final car. And then immediately went to sleep because we were all absolutely exhausted. Also, as well as having the real life simulation games, the PlayStation was always really, really good as well for arcade style racing games. You see here, we've got quite a few. One of the games that I swear I remember playing it when I was younger, was Max Power Racing. Obviously, when I was younger, Max Power was still a magazine and still very popular. London Racer, I think I originally played that on the PC, but have over the years managed to sort of pick up the different versions across different PlayStation platforms. But the one game that I am going to highlight out of these has to be the ultimate Ridge Racer. The arcade game that got moved to the PlayStation. Everyone remembers that atrocious introduction to one of the later versions of Ridge Racer. But yeah, I remember playing Ridge Racer in the arcade, and getting hold of a copy of it to play at home was absolutely amazing. So here I picked out a selection of, well, they're racing games, but I didn't really know how to categorise them because they're not sim, they're not arcade. So I've just put them as other. But you've got some absolutely brilliant ones there. You've got Micro Machines there up in the corner. The least said about Driver, the better. The most, for those of you that, I think most people know now, Driver has the most frustrating tutorial level, and yeah, a lot of people like myself, I think I've got past it once or twice when I was younger, but yeah, it's just not worth it, not worth all the stress that tutorial level gives. But there's a couple down the bottom there. You've got Jet Race and Rapid Racer, which are jet ski and boat racing games. I've played Jet Racer. It's an okay game. It's not absolutely amazing. But the one game that I do want to highlight here is the controversial Carmageddon. Now, I originally played Carmageddon 2 on the PC, but what I liked about Carmageddon, so originally the PC version of Carmageddon was banned in the UK, and they had to make a load of changes to the game, such as changing the pedestrians to zombies, changing the blood from red to green, and yeah, there was just so many hoops that they had to jump through to get the game released over here. It wasn't banned for long, but it was banned for a small period of time. But what I found with the PlayStation version is that, yes, the people in it are still called zombies, but the blood has been turned back from green back to red. So, yeah, don't know what happened there. Don't know how they were able to sort of get the game released. But, yeah, love the Carmageddon games. I think I've got Carmageddon 1. I think I've only got it now on the PlayStation. I don't know where my PC copies have gone. Once again, my Carmageddon 2 I've lost, but I have got Carmageddon on the PS4. So, yeah, I'm just going to have to try and track down another copy of Carmageddon 2. Hopefully I can get it on one of the consoles. One of the last racing games that I want to highlight here is Destruction Derby. At the moment, I've only got Destruction Derby 2 in the collection, but this one is slightly better. Obviously, it's got improved graphics. It is very much I wouldn't say a reboot or even a remake, but it uses a lot of the tracks from the first one. But yeah, they are absolutely amazing games. I love playing these, and when I think back to my original time playing on the PlayStation, which was when my cousin rented it from Blockbuster, Destruction Derby was one of the games that we rented. The other main game will come up a bit later in the video, but yeah, I just wanted to highlight this game because it is an absolutely brilliant game. And I love going back to playing this whenever I've got the PlayStation 1 out. Next up, I wanted to have a look at some of the sort of aerial combat sort of games on the PlayStation 1. And you see there, I haven't got too many in the collection, but I think the ones that I have got are really, really good ones, actually. So we've got Ace Combat there at the bottom. We've also got Soviet Strike, which was I believe that was the third game. No, it wasn't. It was the fourth game in the Strike series that originally started back on the Mega Drive. And then the one game that I do want to highlight out of all of these is G-Police. So this is a futuristic sort of aerial combat game, and I thought this was an absolutely brilliant game when I played it. It just really sort of drew you in. It's another one of those games where once you start it, it's very difficult to put it down because you're very much like, oh, I'll just get to the next bit. I'll just get to the next bit. So, like with other consoles that were released around this sort of time, the PlayStation had an absolute plethora of licensed games. And you see here, I've got a couple of the sort of random sort of ones. So we've got Bond, a couple of Bond games up the top there. 007 Racing, an absolutely brilliant racing game. You've got the Italian Job. I've also got some, iffy ones, let's just say. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I'll be honest, I haven't played that. That was picked up at a boot fair, and I don't think I've ever played it. Also, another game that I've got there that I've been told isn't very good at all is Shrek's Treasure Hunt. But you've got Mission Impossible there, which was released on a couple of other consoles. I know it was definitely released on the N64. And then you've got the Harry Potter games down the bottom there, which are really enjoyable games, actually. Really good games. But the one game that I do want to highlight here is going to be the Die Hard trilogy. This is an absolutely amazing game. Once again, it was released on multiple platforms, but it is just brilliant. So you've got... you start off the game and it is like a third-person shooter. Then you move into basically a first-person shooter, and then I think there's a sort of an on-rail shooter part as well. So I love games like that where they mix in different gaming genres into the one game. Just think they're really, really good. And you can't talk about licensed games without bringing up Disney games. So once again, there are quite a few games. I've just noticed here actually while I'm recording the voiceover that I've actually put in Land Before Time, which isn't a Disney game. So that should have been on the other screen. But you'll see there we've also got, you had Aladdin, Tarzan, and then the game that I am going to highlight here is Walt Disney World's or Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour. This is a Mario Kart style kart racing game, and I have to say, second place to Mario Kart. This is an absolutely brilliant game. If you are collecting for the PlayStation, I would highly recommend picking up this game. It was so much fun to play, and yeah, just really, really enjoyable game to play.
Congratulations!
And then finally, when we're talking about licensed games, we can't forget to mention the likes of Star Wars and Star Trek. So you'll see here we've got Star Trek Invasion, which, if I remember rightly, was sort of like a real-time strategy game. I'll be honest, I haven't actually played it yet. But one game that I have played and I absolutely love is Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, The Hidden Empire. This was an absolutely brilliant game. And yeah, I just love the way that it also pulls in the live action elements as well. So yeah, really, really gorgeous game, and one that I enjoyed playing. So in the early years of the PlayStation, Sony were always on the lookout for their own version of Sonic and Mario, by trying to find a mascot that was going to represent the console. There was a variety of attempts, but none really sort of stuck. One of the biggest ones is Crash Bandicoot, which I don't actually have a copy of in the collection. It is going to have to be a game that I'm going to make sure that I pick up this year. But also you've got Spyro. Croc made a very brief attempt, but that got quickly forgotten about. And then personally, I also felt that Rain Man was also they also did try to push that as a potential mascot for the system. But for me, Spyro was the one game that I've got that really sort of signified PlayStation. And yeah, so we've got Spyro Year of the Dragon, which was I believe it was the first game in the series that was released. And yeah, thought the Spyro games were absolutely brilliant. I've played both the originals and the remake, and yeah, just thought they were absolutely brilliant games. So you wouldn't be a proper console unless you had sports games, and the PlayStation had these in abundance. I will admit I haven't actually got too many of them, but I have got a nice variety there. So you'll see I've got some snooker and pool, track and field, cricket, which I will be honest, I've never played. I don't know. I know nothing about cricket, so yeah, they're just, I don't even know where I've picked those up from. The only sport, I will admit, the only football game that I've got is the Superstar Soccer there. I have got Kings of Bowling 2, which is actually brand new and sealed. And then down the bottom, I've got a couple of golf games as well. Now, the two games that I want to talk about here are Tiger Woods 99. The reason for that is there is actually a variant I am trying to track down. So in the initial release of Tiger Woods 99, there was something happened, and it actually ended up shipping with the pilot episode of South Park on the disc. Now they are out there. They are out there to find, but it's very difficult to actually tell what version you've got. The only way that I know of so far is to actually put it into a PC, go to a particular folder on the disc, and you'll see the video file there. So far, I've not been able to find a copy with the South Park episode on, but it is one that I am constantly looking for. But the one game that I am going to highlight here is going to be Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2000. Because I find the PlayStation versions, or the PlayStation, this sort of generation of golf games are probably one of the better versions. I find that a lot of the later generations of golf games, especially the Tiger Woods games, have just got overly complicated. Whereas I like golf games where you can literally just load it up, and it's more of a sort of stress reliever than a stress bringer, which is what I find with the later titles, because they have just got so overly complicated. So one thing the PlayStation was known for was their extreme sports titles. You'll see here I've got a small selection of games. We've got Dave Mirra, we've got BMX games, we've got Cool Boarders, which was sort of snowboarding, and down the bottom there I've got Motor Racer 2, which is sort of like a motocross game. But the one game that I want to highlight here is going to be the absolutely outstanding Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I absolutely love these games, and I remember putting so much time in on these with my friends. When we were younger, we would just, it was always a case of who could do better, who could score the most. I will admit, going back to these games now, I do tend to struggle with them. But I think that's just down to putting in a bit of practice and getting used to them again. So another genre that we also saw a bit more on the PlayStation was the game show game. So you'll see here I've got a selection of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire games, as well as Weakest Link down the bottom there. I do actually have another copy of Weakest Link that is sealed. But yeah, I think for me, the games that I think are so enjoyable to play are the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire games. And I actually went back and captured some footage of me playing the first game. and I think I got up to about £4,000. Got the question wrong, and then went straight back down to 1,000. But it was really enjoyable as well. These sort of games, they're brilliant because they're games from their time. So all of the sort of general knowledge questions in there are based from a sort of certain period of time, and they are locked into that time. So yeah, really, really good games to pick up and play, especially when you're not looking for anything too intense. So next up, I want to have a look at a couple of the franchise that were actually released on the PlayStation 1. And the first one that we want to look at is the Worms franchise. So this was Worms was originally released on the PC by Team 17. They are, best way to describe the Worms games is it's lemmings with guns. It is so funny. I know when I was sitting there capturing the footage for Worms, and I was laughing all the way through. It is an absolutely brilliant game, and yeah, one that I would highly recommend playing any way you can, whether it's PC, console. I think these are even on mobile now. So yeah, an absolutely amazing series and so much fun to play.
Just you wait. What's this? Revenge! Oh dear.
Then next up, it wouldn't be a PlayStation Collection run through without some of the Resident Evil games. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a copy of Resident Evil 1 on the PS2. I've still got my original copy, which was originally on the PC. But yeah, I haven't been able to pick up a copy for the PS1, which I do want to get because I really want to get the full set of Resident Evil games across all of the PlayStation platforms. But out of the ones that I've got, my favourite of the series is Resident Evil 3. It is absolutely brilliant, and it is a game that I do go back and play quite frequently. And I have to say, controversial or not, Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil 3, far superior to the sort of current gen remakes. So yeah, just absolutely brilliant games. But in addition to the Resident Evil games, we also had Dino Crisis on the PlayStation, and those are I hesitant to say that I prefer these over Resident Evil. Definitely not over Resident Evil 3, but potentially the other two. They are absolutely brilliant games. These I'm one of the fanboys that is there praying for a true Dino Crisis remake, because yes, the remakes haven't been as good as the originals. Well, say that though, Resident Evil 2 I think was as good, if not a bit better than the original. But yeah, I would love to see the Dino Crisis remake. The first game is very much survival horror. Dino Crisis 2 more strayed into sort of an action shooter. but they both are really, really good games. I think out of the two of them, Dino Crisis 1 is by far my favourite.
Approaching drop zone.
Okay, this is the first checkpoint. Playtime is officially over, kiddies. Something's wrong. The lights in the guardhouse are out.
Maybe this has been a wild night of partying for the guards. You know, a little song, a little dance.
That's disgusting.
This guy's been eviscerated. Something tore his intestines straight out.
Look at those tooth marks. It had to be some sort of animal.
Okay, let's move on.
And a series that I've only recently just been introduced to was the Fear Effect series. So I saw these on a YouTube video on someone else's collection videos, and yeah, decided just to pick both of them up in one foul swoop. And yeah, I have to say, I haven't played too much of them as of yet, but from what I have played, really, really good. Obviously, they are very much sort of Resident Evil clones, tank controls, everything like that, but they are really, really good games. And yeah, a couple of games that I'm looking forward to running all the way through. I think I'm a little way through Fear Effect, and then yeah, I've played probably a couple of minutes of Fear Effect 2 just to capture some footage for the video. But yeah, Fear Effect is one that I am working my way through at the moment. So another good thing with the PlayStation 1 was the first-person shooters. Now, I haven't got too many, but the one that I am going to highlight here is going to be Alien Trilogy. This is an absolutely amazing game. It has been ported to other consoles. I think it's also on the Saturn. And yeah, I think the PlayStation version is the superior version. It is just such a late 90s first-person shooter, but it is absolutely brilliant to have something sort of in the Alien universe that is this good. I think for most people, this probably sits as their sort of number 2 Alien game across all of them that have been released. But yeah, absolutely brilliant game, and this was the other game that reminds me of playing the PlayStation originally. So I remember it was this game, it was Alien Trilogy and Destruction Derby that my cousin hired from Blockbuster. I think we had the PlayStation 1 for the weekend, and yeah, those are the two games that I remember playing back in the day on. And a game series that I've not really played too much of is the Final Fantasy series. So yeah, you'll see here I've got 2 copies. I've got Final Fantasy 7 and I've got Final Fantasy Origins. Origins is the more desirable game out of the 2 because it has the original Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 2 from, I believe it was the NES. But probably out of both of these, ones that I've played the most of so far has been Final Fantasy VII. And I have to be honest, I've dipped in and out with the Final Fantasies, but this is the one that I really, really like. And this is the one that I've probably put the most time into. I haven't played the remake. I know that it was remade and re-released on the PS4 and the PS5, but I haven't had a chance to play them yet. But this is the one that if I'm playing Final Fantasy, this will be the one that I pick up. So another series of games that also come to the PlayStation was the original Grand Theft Autos. I originally played sort of all three of these on the PC. I remember when I bought Grand Theft Auto 2, got it home, realised it wouldn't play in my PC at the time. I ended up going back to game to then buy, I think I spent about £100 on a graphics card. And it was I think it was a Voodoo 2 graphics card, just so that I could go home and play Grand Theft Auto 2 on the PC. So getting them on the PlayStation was absolutely brilliant, because it was then just meant I could just put them in and play. Once again, I think the one that I've spent the most time on out of all three of these has been the original Grand Theft Auto. I wasn't a massive fan of Grand Theft Auto 2. The future setting just didn't really connect with it. I thought GTA London was absolutely brilliant. Going back to the 60s. And yeah, I think that is the only time that the Grand Theft Auto series has ever left the US. So yeah, really enjoyed that. But for me, it has to be the original Grand Theft Auto all day long. So the next type of games that I'm going to look at is the fighting games that I've got on the PlayStation 1. And I'm a bit disappointed. This is probably the one area of my PlayStation 1 collection that I'm disappointed in, because there are so many more games that I need to get for the system. I think in addition to what's here, I think I've also got, I think it's Tekken 2, but I've only got that disc only at the moment. But yeah, there is just so many games that I am missing, even just straight off the bat. I haven't got, I want to get a copy of Dead or Alive on the PlayStation 1. I've got the Japanese import on the Saturn, but the only sort of PAL version that was released was on the PlayStation 1. So that is a game that I want to track down, because that is one of my favourite fighting series. And yeah, but what I have got here, obviously we see there, I've got Tekken, Guilty Gear. I've got some boxing games down the bottom there. So Ready to Rumble Boxing. I originally played that on the Dreamcast. And then Knockout Kings 99. I remember I used to play that with a friend across the street who had a PlayStation at the time. And yeah, for some reason, I just tend to really enjoy the boxing games whenever I've played them. That's right the way through, even on sort of modern consoles. For some reason, I just find the boxing games are really, really good. But the one game that I want to highlight here is obviously Mortal Kombat 3. An absolutely iconic fighting series. And yeah, one that I do tend to play whenever I get a chance on the PlayStation. I know this was quite a recent pickup, actually. I think I picked it up last year at one of the boot fairs. So yeah, another good set, but as I say, there are some additions that I want to make to the fighting games on the PlayStation 1. Now we get onto a series which I am probably going to lose my ability to call myself a gamer after this, but it is the Metal Gear Solid series. And I just could not get into these games. Obviously, I've played the original Metal Gear Solid. And yeah, I just couldn't get into it. I've tried to play it loads of times over the years. Obviously, even played it capturing footage for this video. But I just couldn't get on with it. I don't know why. It's just not a series that. Yeah, I've not played any of the later ones. The only one I've ever tried to even play is the original Metal Gear. And yeah, as I say, just could not get into it. It just wasn't for me. which is probably, yeah, the comments are going to probably come thick and fast for that one. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just not a series that I could get into. So the next series that I want to talk about is the Oddworld series. And once again, these are games that I am fairly new to. Obviously, I've heard of Oddworld, but never really had access to them to play them. And I picked these two. These two got picked up sort of towards the end of the boot fair season last year. Managed to get them both at the same time. And yeah, I thought these were... The Oddworld series are brilliant games. So far, I've only really gone through Abe's Odyssey because I want to go through, complete that before moving on to Abe's Exodus. But they are, yeah, they're just really good games. They remind me of the flashback games. So it is very much that sort of 2D sort of platform type game. But yeah, it pretty much is a carbon copy of the flashback games, and I love the flashback games, so there was no way that I wasn't going to like these ones. Another series that got ported to the PlayStation from the PC was the theme park series. So before your roller coaster tycoons and your planet coasters, they were all conceived from theme park. And yeah, I played theme park back in the day on the PC, and getting hold of it later on the PlayStation has been absolutely brilliant. I think I've got a couple of copies of this now. I have got a version on the PC. I've also got a version on the Saturn. So yeah, having some console versions of these games is great because it's so easy to just sort of pop them in and play. And yeah, the theme park world, I wasn't a massive fan of, but the original theme park is absolutely amazing. And along with that, another series which is on the PlayStation that I haven't got a copy of at the moment is Theme Hospital. So it's another Bullfrog title, and yeah, those two, Theme Park, Theme Hospital, both absolutely brilliant games and ones that I like to pick up and play whenever I can.
Dad, I'm really bored.
Oh, look at you there! Good day to you. I'm the advisor, and I'm here to take you to a magical land. You first, lad. Friends can come too. Even grown-ups. I almost forgot. You too. Go!
And the final series that we're going to look at on this video is going to be the Tomb Raider series. So once again, another series that is just forever linked with the PlayStation. Yeah, I remember playing the original Tomb Raider on a friend's PlayStation. And yeah, for the time, it was something so new, so different, that it just really sort of drew you in. Obviously, as time went on, the Tomb Raider series just got very samey and sort of fell out of fashion, really, up until the more modern remakes. And yeah, I have to say the more modern games, I much prefer playing them now against the original. I think the biggest thing that lets the original Tomb Raiders down is the control scheme. I just find it's just for a modern gamer, it's just very difficult to pick up and play. But yeah, I can still appreciate them for what they were. And yeah, I do go back every now and then and have a bit of a go on the original Tomb Raider, but I don't spend massive amounts of time on them anymore. So before we wrap up the collections video, I just wanted to put out some honourable mentions. Now, these are games that I didn't really know where to put them in the video in particular. So I just wanted to include them here. We've obviously got Medieval up the top there, which was a really good sort of 3D sort of platform type game. We've then got Spice Girls, the game, which is such a unique game. It is, you know what, even after playing it, I don't really know how to describe it. The idea is that you've got a block of 9 squares, and out those 9 squares each play a different part of a Spice Girls song, and you've got to sort of put the song together, but it's not complete, so it's just very jarring. Then as well, we've got Bubsy 3D. So I was a massive fan of the Bubsy games on the Mega Drive. So I knew that this was an absolutely atrocious game, but I really wanted to get it so that I had sort of the series, so to speak. Obviously, there has now been 2 Bubsy games released on the PS4, which I'm going to now have to pick up. But yeah, I wanted to pick that up, wanted to get that into the collection, and I do have to say, it is as bad as people say. But a game that is probably the polar opposite to Bugsy, and an absolutely outstanding game, is Heart of Darkness. So I played this. This one reminds me of a better looking version of Another World. Very much in that sort of style of game. And yeah, once again, just another absolutely amazing game on the console. And then right down the bottom there, we've got 2 absolute classic games, especially from my perspective. So Red Alert, I played extensively on the PC. This was another game that I played predominantly at my cousin's house when I was younger, because he had a copy of it on the PC. But in later years, I have got my own copies now. I think out of the Red Alert series, Red Alert 2 has always been my favourite. And that's a game that I go back to quite a lot. And then Time Crisis. What can be said about Time Crisis? An absolutely amazing game. Recently managed to pick up the Guncom that goes with this game. Unfortunately, I don't have a CRT TV, so I can't actually play it at the moment. But hopefully, sometime in the future, I will find the space to get a CRT into the games room, and I can at least play some of these light gun shooters again. So that is going to conclude our run through on my PS1 collection. I have to say, I really enjoyed doing this video. Let me know in the comments down below if this is something that you enjoyed, and also if you want me to carry on. Put in the comments as well what console you want me to do next. We've got plenty to go through, so yeah, let me know in the comments down below what console you want to see in the next collection deep dive, is probably what I'm going to call these. But yes, with that said, that is going to wrap up today's video. But before you head off, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're not already, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to be kept up to date when I upload new videos. I'm really trying to push the channel to 1,000 subscribers now. We are not far off at all. So if you're not subscribed and you enjoy the videos, yeah, hit that subscribe button, because it really helps. But with that said, I am going to wrap it up there. So thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Alright, bye.